Hi, this is Synthchaser from synthchaser.com. So I just finished up restoring this ARP Axxe and I'm putting it up for sale, and I realized I don't have very many ARP Axxe videos on my channel. So what I usually do when I put a keyboard up for sale is I make a short video showing that the keyboard's fully functional. And I figured that this would be a good opportunity to just show everyone the general functionality of an ARP Axxe, what it can do and what it sounds like. So let's dive in. So the ARP Axxe is a single oscillator synthesizer, so it has a single VCO, and you have two waveforms that you can get out of it, the square wave and the sawtooth wave. You've got a fairly broad range, so this is with the octave switch in normal mode, and you can go down 2 octaves. Up 2 octaves. And with the pitch bend, you can actually get another octave out of it, so we can pitch bend this down an octave, or on the high end we can pitch bend it up an octave. That's pretty high. So we can modulate our oscillator with some of these options here. So there's LFO sine wave, so I'm going to set the LFO kind of at the midpoint here. And we can get an LFO speed of about 0.2 Hertz up to 20 Hertz. So let's put this down towards the middle. We can modulate the oscillator by LFO square wave. So as I bring that slider up, the depth of the effect is larger. So for sample and hold, we can turn the sample and hold, random sample and hold on with this switch, and then we can use the sample and hold slider to modulate the oscillator. And then we can use the adsr to modulate the oscillator. So what we'll do is, to make this a little more pronounced, is we'll add some attack and release. So this is with no modulation. So right now we're listening to the square wave, so the VCO square wave slider is turned up, and we have a fixed pulse width slider, which is currently all the way down at 50%, and we can raise it and get a narrower pulse wave. And then there's a couple pulse width modulation options. So there's LFO sine wave. And there's adsr, so this is without the pulse width modulation. In addition to the oscillator saw and the square, we have a noise source. Not very exciting there. Moving along to the voltage controlled filter. So there's a few variants of the ARP Axxe. This is a Mark I ARP Axxe, and the Mark I ARP Axxe came in 2 versions, one with an onboard filter, so not using an ARP submodule. And the onboard filter was more like the 4035 filter, which was a ladder filter, a Moog style ladder filter. This one is a later Mark I ARP Axxe, and it has the 4075 voltage controlled filter submodule, which is the same as what you'd find in an Omni, Omni 2, Quadra, Avatar, late model Odysseys, etc. So we'll hear what this filter sounds like by sweeping the frequency at various settings of the resonance. We're listening to the sawtooth wave now, by the way. This 4075 filter with the 4075 filter enhancement that I've done can self-oscillate. What we can do is we can turn resonance all the way up. We'll turn our oscillator off, and we'll turn keyboard control voltage as the control voltage source for the filter. So you actually have a sine wave oscillator there that you're getting from the filter. So we have a couple modulation options for the filter. So first is the keyboard control voltage. So I've set the frequency down a little bit, and keyboard control voltage sliders all the way down. And the filter is pretty much equally closed or equally open as you go up and down the keyboard. Now if I raise this up, the filter will open more towards the higher end of the keyboard. We can modulate the filter with the LFO. I'll sweep that at different, I'll show you that at different settings. And we can use the adsr to open and close the filter. So I'll turn that up and we'll add some attack and release. We have one envelope generator, and it's an ADSR, so we can test the different parameters. So attack, there's no attack here. That's the longest attack. We have the long decay, pretty long. Sustain, and release. All the way up to the very long release there. So our voltage controlled amplifier has two ways of controlling it. First is with the ADSR, which is what we've been doing, and this slider controls the ADSR depth of opening up the VCA, so we can basically make it louder by turning this slider up and down. Then we also have a fixed VCA gain, so that'll make the audio signal pass through the VCA even when there's no key being gated. And speaking about gating, we have a few options for that. One is obviously the keyboard. Let's turn this back up. We can have the keyboard repeat, and that repeat speed is based on the LFO. And we can have auto repeat, which basically gates the repeating note without us even having to press and hold a key. Over here we have a portamento effect, so here's no portamento. And we can mix our sound sources, so we can have some sawtooth and some square. Let's make it pulse. And some noise. And And we can combine our modulation sources by using more than one of these sliders to modulate the oscillator, the filter, or the VCA. So there is one little pot shaft that sticks out here, and it may look like it's missing a knob, but it's actually not. That's the master tune control, and it does not have a knob on it. This is the pitch bend knob, and that has a knob. And that is pretty much the ARP Axxe. I've done a lot of work to this ARP Axxe. The first thing that obviously stands out is the LED sliders. So all 23 of the old original sliders have been replaced with these new illuminated sliders. And the thing that I like about them isn't necessarily the lights, but the smoothness and the precision that you can get these dialed into. They're way, way better. They feel much better than the originals, even if you replace them with brand new replacements or refurbish them, expertly. They're never going to come out as good as these sliders. I rebuilt the power supply, so all the tantalum and electrolytic capacitors in the power supply have been replaced. High quality, high temperature, 105 degree Celsius capacitors have been used for the power supply filter capacitors. All the tantalum capacitors in the synthesizer have been replaced. So those little blue and red blob capacitors that are notoriously ticking time bombs in ARP synthesizers have all been changed with electrolytics to help provide stable operation for years to come. I've replaced all the CMOS and op-amp chips in the synthesizer. The original chips have a high failure rate, so it's kind of a best practice to replace those to make the synthesizer reliable for whoever's going to be using it and prevent future issues from popping up. I put the new chips in sockets where they physically would fit, so future servicing will be much easier. I mentioned I did the 4075 filter enhancement, so this uses the 4075 filter submodule, and I recapped that, and I made the enhancement to correct a design error in the original design that limited the cutoff frequency to about 12 kilohertz. I rebuilt the keyboard, so it's got new bushings, so it's quiet and not clacky. I polished and removed and polished the bus bars, cleaned the key contacts, adjusted and leveled the key bed. This particular ARP Axxe was shipped to me rather poorly, and the side panels got damaged, so I custom crafted some new side panels, same shape and thickness as the old ones, but made from a nice walnut, and it looks really nice, probably better than this video can do justice. I cleaned the pots and the switches. It's got a new pitch bend knob here. I put a new power cord on. And then the problem with the synthesizers with sliders is they have these slats, and this is horizontal, sitting horizontally, so dust and grime and stuff invariably is going to work its way through these openings. So what I did is I cleaned the main circuit board to get the 40 years of junk that had built up on it off. So it's spick and span inside and out. Calibrated it and tuned it. And then another thing, on most ARPs, they have a RCA jack for the high output and the 1/4 inch jack for the low output. I really don't know anyone who uses RCA jacks, and people do want high outputs. So I added a jumper and made the 1/4 inch jack also a high output. If someone wants to undo that, they can just cut a wire and reverse the modification. So that's what I've done to restore this ARP Axxe, and maybe in the future I'll make a more detailed video where I show those steps, since I don't think I have a video like that for the ARP Axxe. But in a nutshell, that's what the ARP Axxe can do and what it sounds like. This ARP Axxe is available for sale on my website, synthchaser.com. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.